Welcome to our noon edition of Arirang News. Here are the stories making the headlines at this hour. Campaigning for the upcoming general elections set for April 10th has kicked off from today. Candidates are now able to deliver speeches and give out their name cards to the public. The United States announced a new set of sanctions on 6 individuals and 2 entities based in Russia, China, and the UAE for allegedly channeling funds to North Korea's weapons program. Seoul is also behind this decision. For the first time in 12 years, members of Seoul's bus labor union have gone on strike, demanding a hike in wages. The government has been trying to fill in the void of some thousands of buses by operating extra subway trains and extending their running time till 2 a.m. Official campaigning for the April general election is now in full swing here in South Korea. Eligible candidates vying for seats in the National Assembly can campaign up until the day before in-person voting on April 10th. Ruling People Power Party interim leader Hyundai started off by greeting people at a traditional market in southeast Seoul at midnight, followed by a visit to Sinchon in the morning, where many universities are located. And Lee Jae-myung, the main opposition Democratic Party's leader, started off his campaign in Incheon, where he is running to represent, followed by a visit to Seoul's central Yongsan-gu district. Candidates are using public address systems to deliver speeches in open areas, as well as pass out their name cards. South Korea and the U.S. have issued another set of sanctions against North Korea. This is part of their efforts to cut North Korea's sources of funding used for its nuclear and missile programs. Paeun-ji has the details.
South Korea and the U.S. have newly added 2 entities and 4 individuals to their sanctions list for their involvement in illicit financing and generating revenue through overseas North Korean information technology workers that are used to fund the regime's nuclear and missile development. This includes a UAE-based firm called Pioneer Bangkok Star Real Estate and a Russia-based company called Alice LLC. South Korea's foreign ministry explained Thursday that the 2 companies were sanctioned for engaging in the dispatch and operations of North Korean IT workers abroad. Also on the sanctions list are 4 bank representatives, Yoo Boo-ung, Han Chul-man, Jung Sung-ho, and Oh In-jun, for evading sanctions and funding North Korea's nuclear missile development through illegal financial activities such as money laundering. The foreign ministry said Yoo Boo-ung in particular is a person that South Korea and the U.S. have both been tracking. The U.S. State Department also described Yoo as a linchpin in North Korea's illicit financial activities and a person that's skilled at employing various schemes to avoid detection. The latest action aligns with the 6th South Korea-U.S. Working Group meeting to counter North Korean cyber threats, a 2-day meeting that began Wednesday in Washington, D.C. Seoul's foreign ministry said the sanctions are expected to raise awareness of the risks related to transactions involving these individuals and entities, not just domestically, but also within the international community. A recent report by a panel of experts at the United Nations shows North Korea has obtained about half of its total foreign currency income through financial theft, such as hacking and cyber attacks. And these funds were used to cover 40% of the resources needed for developing weapons of mass destruction. Paeun-ji, Arirang News.
The United States and China have discussed ways to bolster cooperation in regional and international issues through a phone call. The United States Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell spoke with China's Executive Vice Foreign Minister Ma Jiaosu Wednesday local time. The State Department said the call was part of ongoing efforts to maintain a bilateral communication line. Among the many things discussed, the importance of peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula was emphasized. The 2 also discussed security in the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea. While recognizing areas where the 2 countries could agree upon, Campbell raised concerns about China's support for Russia's military in its war against Ukraine. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba has asked Seoul to transfer its Patriot surface-to-air missile system to Kyiv. Despite South Korea's firm stance that it would not supply lethal weapons, Ukraine's top diplomats stressed that the missile system is non-lethal as it only shoots down missiles. Kuleba argued that because North Korea continues to support Russia militarily, South Korea's best strategic security interest would be to help Ukraine. He further emphasized that if South Korea's allies follow the same logic of non-lethal weapon support in the 1950s, South Korea would have been defeated by the North and would not exist today. The envoy did end off by saying he understands that decisions have to be made by each country regarding aid to Ukraine. Starting last week, the South Korean military and the U.S. Marine Corps have been conducting high-tech military drills to improve combined operation capabilities. The U.S. 3rd Marine Division is taking part in the Korea Combat Training Center for the first time. The drill involves some 230 combat assets, including tanks, armored vehicles, self-propelled artillery, helicopters, and drones. The 3rd Marine Division is stationed in Okinawa, Japan, and is one of the first U.S. military forces that can be deployed to the Korean Peninsula in case of emergencies. Their 10-day training began on March 19th and will end today. President Yoon Suk-yeol was handed a trophy awarding his courage in renewing ties with Tokyo and strengthening three-way cooperation with the U.S. to promote global peace and prosperity. The honor was delivered in person by the daughter of former U.S. President John F. Kennedy. Oh Soo-young reports.
President Yoon Suk-yeol has received an award he won last year from the John F. Kennedy Foundation for his courage and determination to pursue better bilateral ties with Japan for peace and prosperity for the region and the world. On Wednesday, Yoon met with Caroline Kennedy, the foundation's honorary president, and the current US ambassador to Australia, who had requested to deliver the award herself. She is the only surviving child of the former US President John F. Kennedy. Yoon had won the International Profile and Courage Award last year with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida for working to improve bilateral ties despite domestic opposition arising from historical issues. In particular, the foundation had noted Yoon's efforts towards rapprochement with Japan shortly after assuming office. It added that such courage to choose a more hopeful future led to a historic level of trilateral cooperation between the US and two of its most important democratic allies at their Camp David summit last August. Ambassador Kennedy said it was an honor to personally present the trophy to Yoon, noting he had pushed for the good of his people, nation, and the world despite political opposition. Her husband, designer Edwin Schlossberg, who accompanied her to Seoul, had designed the trophy, modeling it on the shape of a lantern used on the USS Constitution warship to signify sincerity and courage amid external pressure. Yoon said he was deeply moved to receive an award from former President Kennedy's family, pledging further efforts towards peace in the Indo-Pacific based on trilateral cooperation with the US and Japan. He noted the honor symbolizes the former US leader's new frontier spirit, which envisioned a better future during hard times through social and economic reforms. A senior official at Yoon's office told Arirang News that it is through the same courage and a sense of mission based on the new frontier spirit that the president has tackled illegal labor union activities, promoted education reform, and steadily pushes for medical reform despite the political disadvantages that may come his way. Previous recipients of the Courage Award include Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, US Presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush, and former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
For the first time in 12 years, Seoul's intra-city bus drivers have gone on strike demanding a wage hike. The strike began at 4 a.m. today, and the move comes despite an 11-hour marathon negotiations that began on Wednesday afternoon. Lee Seung-jae has more.
The Seoul Bus Labor Union and representatives from management began last-minute negotiation talks on Wednesday at around 3 p.m. That meeting lasted for 11 hours before the labor union called for an end to the discussions in the early hours of Thursday morning. By 4 a.m., the union declared that its drivers would go on a strike, marking the first strike by Seoul's intracity bus drivers in 12 years. However, there is still hope that the two sides can agree to end the general strike as soon as possible. Despite the breakdown in negotiations, working-level talks are still ongoing, and attention is now being paid to how much the gap will be narrowed during this process and whether an agreement can be reached. The key issue behind the talks is a wage increase. The 18,000-member union has reportedly asked for a 12.7% increase in their hourly wage, a revision of their salary system, and the abolition of wage discrimination for contract workers. The union is arguing that the increase in wages will also prevent manpower outflow to the Incheon and Gyeonggi regions. However, the management side has stressed that such an increase is excessive compared to the inflation and wage increase rates over the past 5 years. The Regional Labor Relations Commission, which has been mediating the negotiations, proposed a 6.1% increase, but ultimately failed to reach arbitration. With the general strike by the union, 7,210 buses, or 97.6% of all Seoul city buses, are now out of service. The last time drivers went on strike was in 2012. However, at the time, the partial strike only lasted for 20 minutes, avoiding any inconvenience to commuters. With this strike expected to last longer, Seoul City began operating emergency transportation measures to minimize inconvenience to commuters by extending and increasing subway services. To quickly connect subway commutes, free shuttle buses are also operating in Seoul's 25 autonomous districts. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Turning to the standoff between the government and doctors over medical reforms. Having reaffirmed its intentions to push ahead with medical school quota expansion, the government is now sharing its plans for a special healthcare allocation from the national budget. Choi Soo-young has the details.
Amidst the ongoing conflict regarding the government increasing the medical school enrollment quota, the Health Ministry said it will announce a special budget by the end of May.
To ensure concentrated and stable funding, we plan to operate a special account for essential medical services. The next 2 months will be the most important time for budget planning, with a budget request submitted to the Ministry of Economy and Finance by the end of May.
Meanwhile, the presidential office announced plans on Wednesday to increase healthcare spending to ensure that essential medical services are restored to their appropriate levels.
The USChina administration plans to place the healthcare sector on an equal footing with constitutional duties such as security and public safety. The government aims to make bold investments into medical services.
In the spending plan, the government announced it promised to take over the responsibility for the practical training of trainee doctors itself. The government will also allocate additional funding to regional healthcare and research and development into the expansion of essential medical services outside Seoul. Meanwhile, it is sticking to its regional medical school quota increased to 2,000 students beginning next year and has finalized allocations for each school. At the same time, the government continues to urge for dialogue with the Korean Medical Association. On Tuesday, pediatrician Im Hyun-taek was elected as the new leader of the KMA with 65% of the votes cast. He has voiced opposition to the government's plan and could push for an even larger scale collective action. The exodus of medical school professors nationwide has continued, including almost 430 at Ulsan University and around 400 at Seoul National University. To minimize disruption to patient care, the government says it will deploy an additional 1,900 physician assistant nurses and 200 more public health doctors. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News.
South Korea has failed to get its domestic bonds onto the World Gov't Bond Index. The bond index is made by FTSE Russell, a subsidiary of London's Financial Times Stock Exchange. FTSE Russell on Wednesday said it maintained South Korea's status on its watch list. South Korea has been on the watch list since September of 2022 due to the country's efforts to make it easy for foreign funds to buy Korean government bonds. The group decides every March and September which countries to include in the WGBI based on the issuance size of government bonds, national credit rankings, and market accessibility. Currently, the WGBI includes bonds from 24 countries such as the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and Japan. From AI to bio, batteries, and electric vehicles, big-name companies in South Korea like LG and Hyundai announced their respective plans to invest billions of dollars domestically in their future growth engines. Park Won-woo tells us more about these new business strategies.
South Korean conglomerates LG and Hyundai Motor Group are set to invest domestically in advanced industries to raise their competitiveness. According to LG during its annual shareholders meeting in Seoul on Wednesday, it'll be investing 100 trillion won, or over $74 billion within Korea for the 5 years until 2028. That's around 65% of the company's global investment total. LG said around 50 trillion won will be invested in future technologies, including AI and bio, along with pivotal business fields such as batteries and next-generation displays. The company aims to make Korea a manufacturing hub of research and development and smart factories.
As there is a high possibility of AI being a game changer in our society, it is a good idea for companies to invest in important fields such as AI, bio, and secondary batteries.
On the same day, Hyundai also announced its midterm plans for investment and employment in advanced industries. The company said it will be investing 68 trillion won, or roughly $50.4 billion, for 3 years including this year, with each year's investment volume at around 22 trillion won. That is a 30% increase compared to 2023. And most of the investment will be allocated to R&D, including technologies for software-defined vehicle, and building new electric vehicle plants, along with research infrastructure. Hyundai plans to diversify its EV lineup to up to 31 models and expand its annual car production to over 1.5 million units by 2030. Hyundai will also be hiring around 80,000 people, and more than half of that number will be workers in advanced industries. One expert predicts a bright future for companies investing in these fields.
If Korean companies could develop technologies and products through R&D, there'll be more investment from overseas.
He added that building partnerships between these companies and the government will also be important to the development of future industries. Park Geon-woo, Arirang News.
It looks like it won't be too long until robots can do most of our daily activities, including making coffee and going on deliveries. And some are looking to better assist humans in the manufacturing process as well. My colleague An Sung-jin went out to check out the latest robots at one of Asia's leading technology exhibitions.
Robots are now being looked at to lead automation in the manufacturing industry. Smart Factory and Automation World 2024, hosted by the Ministries of Trade and SMEs, kicked off on Wednesday, showcasing various robots from more than 400 companies with nearly 70,000 people participating.
The solution to a lack of manpower is a digital transformation, and applying technology like AI can boost productivity and increase safety in the workplace.
Hanwha Robotics, which first launched collaborative robots in 2017, develops robots that are used in multiple industries, including those of automobiles and electronics. These robots perform not only simple tasks such as picking up and placing heavy objects, but are also capable of screwing things in, polishing, and welding. They have a similar reach to a human being and can help when a workspace is narrow.
As the working population is shrinking, these robots can fill gaps in the unstable employment market. Workers also get to do more productive tasks rather than tedious jobs. We're looking to create a total robot solution.
Similarly, this company, Rainbow Robotics, also provides solutions for automation with a specialization in humanoid robots. The company provides manufacturing collaborative robots such as robotic arms to boost productivity. Its two-armed robot is being introduced for the first time at this exhibition. At 120 to 170 centimeters tall and weighing around 50 kilograms, they can perform the exact same tasks a human can with 5 fingers on each hand that can bend and pick things up. With artificial intelligence, they can also easily perform input tasks.
We're now looking to focus more on autonomous mobile robots that can assist workers in the retail sector, including humanoid robots. The possibility for automation is near infinite, and it's important to have an internalized platform like ours.
The global automation market is expected to grow up to nearly $400 billion by 2029 from $200 billion in 2022.
With continuous government support, the sales of domestically built industrial robots are expected to grow up to 3.1 trillion won, or $2.3 billion by the end of this year. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. We begin today in Indonesia, where 2 losing presidential candidates have demanded a revote, alleging fraud at the polls and general irregularities. Indonesia's top court began hearing the appeals of the 2 candidates, Anies Baswedan and Ganjar Pranowo, on Wednesday. The results of the February 14th election announced on March 20th indicated that Defense Minister Prabowo Subianto won with 58.6% of the votes. Former Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan and former Central Java Governor Ganjar Pranowo trailed Subianto with 24.9% and 16.5% of votes respectively. Baswedan and Pranowo both claim irregularities and are critical of Subianto's running mate, 37-year-old Rakabuming Raka, the son of the outgoing president, Joko Widodo. The country's top court, at the time led by Widodo's brother-in-law, made an exception for Raka to run despite the minimum age requirement for candidates being 40. Pranowo is demanding that election results be annulled and the winners disqualified, saying that a firm stand must be taken to reject oppression, including the government's use of state resources and the security forces to support certain candidates. Thailand's lower house of parliament passed a marriage equality bill on Wednesday, moving a step closer to legalizing same-sex unions. If approved through all legal procedures, Thailand will become the third territory in Asia to legally protect equal marriage rights. The bill had full support in Parliament, with 400 votes for and 10 against from the 415 members. Some lawmakers displayed the LGBT flag during the session, and many applauded as the flag was waved after the bill was confirmed to have passed. Initially, one of the 400 parliamentarians accidentally pressed the wrong button, showing 399 in favor, but the error was amended accordingly. Thailand's marriage equality bill now must acquire the Senate's approval and the King's endorsement before it becomes law. A bus crash on a motorway in eastern Germany, close to Leipzig, has killed at least 5 people and injured around 50. The bus, operated by Flixbus, was on the busy A9 motorway connecting Berlin to Munich before it swerved to the right and ending up on its side. Leipzig police spokesperson Olaf Hopp said at the site of the crash that while 5 people were killed, that number is not yet verified. Flixbus also commented that the exact circumstances of the accident are not yet known. While the police said the figures were only based on the number of seat bookings, some 53 passengers and 2 drivers were on the bus traveling from Berlin to the Swiss city of Zurich. Now to Russia, where 2 polar bear cubs have taken their first steps outside in the snow at an eastern Siberian zoo. According to a staff member at the Orto-Doidu Zoo, the cubs were born in December 2023, but the mother of the cubs did not allow them to venture outside until they became strong enough. The cubs are born blind and weak, weighing only around 500 grams. The mother bear, named Kolimana, was found orphaned in 2012 at a natural reserve in Yakutia's far northeastern Arctic Ocean coast. The father, named Lomonosov, was born at the Leningrad Zoo in St. Petersburg and later moved to Siberia. The zoo's name, Orto-Doidu, means middle world in Yakutia Sakha language. According to local myth, the middle world is where animals and humans thrive, while the upper world is inhabited by the gods. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. After some very pleasant weather we had yesterday, it's a rainy day again. Central regions could receive rain mixed with yellow dust, while mountainous regions on Jeju could see up to 80 millimeters, while parts of Gyeongsang-do province could see 30 to 80 millimeters of heavy spring rain, along with thunderstorms and strong wind. We had a warmer start to the day, but rain is dragging down the highs 1 to 5 degrees lower than Wednesday, topping out at 14 degrees in the capital, just at 13 degrees in Daegu. And the changeable weather we've had this month made for an unpredictable cherry blossom season. Colder than normal seasonal temperatures and the lack of sunshine due to frequent rain are behind the delay. Cherry blossom festivals kicked off across Korea, but it will take extra days for the full bloom to be seen. But at least the weather conditions will become more promising from tomorrow for the flowering. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have for you at this hour. We'll bring you more updates at the same time tomorrow.